The autumn statement has just landed and there's some massive news for property investors. It's over 100 pages long, but we'll be covering the 4 that are the most important for the housing market, landlords and property developers. And number 3 and 4 are particularly big changes. But first, here are some things that some landlords wanted to change, but there's been no changes mentioned. Stamp duty, inheritance tax, and section 24, i.e. mortgage interest relief. Maybe next time, eh? But for now, what has been introduced? First up is the 95% mortgage guarantee scheme. This was originally meant to end in December this year, but it's now been extended by 18 months to June 2025. This makes it easier for some first-time buyers to get on the market. Now this one won't change the market too much, but it will probably help to prop up first-time buyer purchases and help some demand in the market for house purchases. And as we've mentioned recently in the Weekly Beacon, transactions in the housing market have been falling quite a lot recently. Second is local housing allowance. The Chancellor has announced that he will increase the local housing allowance rate to 30% of local market rents, and that this will help 1.6 million households with extra support, averaging around £800 of extra support per year. This marks the first time that it's been increased since 2020, so it's obviously a step in the right direction for these people. But now for the bigger changes. The Chancellor plans to introduce a fee for some planning applications, where the developer can pay a fee and in return, the local authority will have to guarantee a date for the planning decision to be made. And if the decision isn't made by that point, then the developer can get a refund for the fee. This could be a massive benefit for bigger developers because planning decisions can take forever. At least with a date, you can plan around it and make other decisions for your property business and manage projects effectively. Now the next announcement is the juiciest surprise, but there are some caveats that you have to be aware of. Normally, you'd have to get planning permission if you want to turn a house into 2 individual flats. But now, the Chancellor plans to introduce permitted development rights, which allows you to do this without getting planning permission, as long as the exterior of the property remains unaffected. The last major change like this was in 2010, when changing a house into a HMO became part of permitted development rights. And some landlords made a lot of money out of this by doubling down on this strategy, as it made the process a lot easier. This could be big news for landlords, as they could potentially have 2 1 to 2 bedroom flats instead of 1 4 to 5 bedroom house, without applying for planning permission. So this means you could buy a property knowing in advance that you'd be able to use this strategy without having to worry about planning permission taking forever or even getting rejected. You're likely to make more rental income from multiple smaller flats, and you're more protected against voids too. This would be particularly helpful in areas where demand for smaller properties is higher but the supply of them is low. For example, if there's lots of 4 to 5 bedroom houses, but the people in the area need 1 to 2 bedroom properties instead, these are the kinds of areas where this strategy would be perfect. There's definitely going to be people who don't like this though, as it could mean more households living on a given street, leading to issues like lack of car parking space. But there is a big caveat to this, as councils can get around this. If a council doesn't want this to apply to them, then they can make an Article 4 direction apply in an area, so permitted development rights are limited. So, you're going to have to be quick to make use of these new rights if your council doesn't like the sound of it. If you want to make sure that you never miss big news like this, make sure to join the Weekly Beacon newsletter, which keeps you ahead of the game in property. It's free to join and the link is in the description.